coming and joining us today. As Democrats and above all as New Yorkers, the 2010 elections could not be more important. For your information, 203 days is all that we have until the voters make their decision for this most important election. And the challenges that our state is facing could not be more daunting. As I said, the decision that voters will make could not be more important. I believe now more than ever the Democratic Party must be committed and ironclad in its commitment to the progressive change that we need and to reform here in New York State that is so important in order for us to win. However, with more than 200 candidates on ballot in each of the races that are so important, 6 statewide races going on, an unprecedented 6 statewide races going on, it is very important that the Democratic Party gear up and make a full effort beginning right now. We cannot allow the Republican Party and their candidates to set the agenda. We can't allow them to frame the arguments. We cannot allow them to continue to distort the record of our candidates or our administration. We must come out fighting, and we must do it together with the best team that we possibly can. So today, I am very pleased to announce that my good friend, Charlie King, will serve as our executive director, filling a vacancy that has been there for several months. Charlie, as you know, is an outstanding public servant. He is a groundbreaking civil rights activist. Charlie has been a leader in New York for decades and has fought very hard on behalf of struggling communities all across New York State. Charlie will be a critical voice in delivering and shaping New York Democratic Party's message and its reform agenda for the 2010 election. We're lucky to have him as a part of our Democratic leadership team. Charlie is going to lead our platform committee to draft a new platform of reform. He is going to lead a new rapid response team to answer back when Republican candidates make their false attacks, as they're prone to be doing throughout this campaign season, and to hold Republicans accountable for their records against reform. He's going to be a huge asset to us. As I said, we only have 203 days to go, and he's going to help us make our case to the voters. So now I'd like to introduce our new executive director, Charlie King. Thank you.
Chairman Jacobs, Chair O'Neill, I want to thank you for the honor and privilege of working with you going forward over these next 200 days plus. Since I haven't given a speech in 4 years, and when I gave it then, didn't do me much good, I'm going to be pretty brief and then we'll just answer some questions. But first of all, I would not have accepted this position if Jay Jacobs were not the chair. Jay is a tremendous Democrat. He is indefatigable. He is tremendous, and I have a great working relationship with him, and I look forward to creating some mayhem with him in the weeks and months to come. I also took this position, quite frankly, because this is a critical election for New York. And as a Democrat, where we happen to be in charge right now, and it happens to be a midterm election, this election can be tough because all midterm elections for the party that's in charge can always be a challenge. But I took this job because I like the challenge. I also took it because I agree with Jay that it is critical for the Democratic Party to get back to its roots, to get back to its grassroots, and to really develop a comprehensive Democratic reform agenda that all of our candidates can run on in this election cycle. So as Jay said, I will be leading that under his leadership and his direction. We're going to start now. We're going to go all across the state. We're going to have Democratic reform agenda platform meetings. We're going to meet with everybody, the common Democrat, the chairs, the county leaders, elected officials, you name it, to come up with this creative idea of how we can get this reform agenda together. And this reform agenda is going to focus on several key points. One is that we are going to clean up the ethical mess that is now in Albany. We're going to create good-paying jobs for all New Yorkers across this state. We're going to ensure that every child gets a good and sound and basic education, and we're going to make sure that property owners get the property tax relief that they need and desperately deserve. So that is going to be one of my key points. But the second is, and Jay touched on this before, is that the Republicans are already out of the box doing what they tend to do from time to time, which is lie, distort, mischaracterize, and this election cycle talk in code. And we're not going to allow the Republicans to get away with that. We're going to start and have a Democratic truth squad that's going to be there 24/7. So when Rick Lazio decides to run away from his record and who he is, we're going to remind people that he got a $1.3 million bonus for helping Wall Street at a time that Main Street was suffering. When Steve Levy talks about reforming, we're going to talk about how he has one of the worst pay-to-play type of style in Suffolk County that this state has ever seen. And when Ed Cox talks about how it's despicable that Palladino sends out these offensive emails, or allegedly sends out these emails that are racist and sexually offensive, we are going to ask him, why do you give Steve Levy a pass when he says that every black person is a Shaniqua and makes jokes about deporting busboys and talking about anchor babies as an elected official? These are the kinds of things that we're going to do. New Yorkers deserve in this campaign, they can vote however they want to vote. I'm sure they're going to vote Democratic when they know what the truth is. So, Mr. Chairman, Ms. Chairwoman, I am honored to be here, and I'm going to work as hard as hell to make sure that we get a progressive reform agenda for this party and that we continue to have Democratic leadership in this state. Thank you.
Thank you, Charlie. Now I'd like to ask the Speaker of our New York City Council,